Now we go back to the last NBA trade deadline for the Portland Trailblazers. We seen them clean shop with some of the best players on the team at the time. We seen them trade away CJ McCollum. They also shipped off Norman Powell and Robert Covington. And I must be honest with you guys, when I seen all these trades unfolding, I thought the Portland Trailblazers were hitting the full rebuild button, and I thought they were going to ship off Damian Lillard as well. And obviously that didn't happen, and once I figured out that Damian Lillard was going to be a part of the Portland Trailblazers for the foreseeable future, I knew that this offseason was going to be very important for them, and they were going to try to put some more pieces around Damian Lillard so that the Blazers could be more competitive during his prime. And that's exactly what they did. I think the Portland Trailblazers had a great offseason. They went up and picked up GP2. They paid him a nice healthy amount of money. They drafted Shaedon Sharpe, who so far this season has been very impactful for the Portland Trailblazers, and I think the best move that they made in the offseason, and I also think this was very underrated, they made a big time trade so that they could acquire Jerami Grant from the Detroit Pistons. Now in my opinion, there is two reasons to what makes this Jerami Grant trade so great and so underrated. Number one, we look at the details of this trade. The Portland Trailblazers received Jerami Grant, and the Detroit Pistons received a future first round pick from the Milwaukee Bucks. Now what makes this so significant is at the time the Portland Trailblazers also had the 7th overall pick in the 2022 NBA draft. So in my mind, that's what I was thinking that the deal was going to be, because Jerami Grant is a very good player. So I thought it was straight up was going to be the 7th overall pick for Jerami Grant, and that the Detroit Pistons were going to have 2 lottery picks in the 2022 NBA draft, which would have made me so happy, but it didn't happen that way, and the Bucks were able to get Jerami Grant at a much cheaper price. And reason number two, getting Jerami Grant is exactly what Damian Lillard and the Portland Trailblazers needed. So why I love this Jerami Grant move so much for the Portland Trailblazers is because that Jerami Grant, he can basically fit into any offensive system, and he brings so many different dimensions to the game of basketball, and I think he's the perfect guy to pit around Anthony Simons and Damian Lillard. And the reason that I say this is because these are two guys who love to operate with the basketball in their hands. So I think it's very important to have guys who can operate without the basketball in their hands around them, and that's exactly what Jerami Grant is. Now one thing I want to look at with him so far this season is his 3-point shooting. He's shooting the lights out, and it makes so much sense playing alongside those two guys we just brought up, with them putting so much pressure on the defense, whether they're lighting it up from 3 or they're penetrating to the rim. Guys around them are going to get wide open looks, and so far Jerami Grant, he has been taking advantage of that this season. He's shooting the 3 ball at 46%, and that's a career high for him. So he's shooting lights out right now. He's also averaging 23 points per game, and overall from the field he's shooting 46%. So far we're about 20 games into the season. Jerami Grant is having the best year of his basketball career. But back to what he can do without the basketball in his hands, he is a great cutter, great finisher around the rim, so he knows when to cut and he knows when to be in the right spot at the right time. And also we just talked about his ability to knock down, catch and shoot threes. So I love that about Jerami Grant, that he brings that dimension of being a threat off the ball while being able to play alongside 2 other high profile basketball players. And Jerami Grant, he brings even more offensive dimensions to the game of basketball. He also has the ability to create his own shot, and I think this is very important for the Portland Trailblazers for those nights where either Anthony Simons or Damian Lillard, they're struggling shooting the basketball, and also in games where Damian Lillard or Anthony Simons can't suit up. And so far this season, we've already seen that Damian Lillard has missed a few games, but we've still seen the Portland Trailblazers be competitive, and I think Jerami Grant plays a huge role in that. And it's only 20 something games into the year, still very early in the season, and we've seen Jerami Grant have some big time games, put the Blazers on his back and carry them to a victory. So I love that for the Portland Trailblazers. And we look at Jerami Grant right now, I think this might be the best year of his NBA career when you factor in his efficiency, his stats, and then his overall skill set. that, he has a huge bag right now. And with the basketball in his hands, he can do so many things. And I want to go back to his size and his wingspan, standing at 6'8", and he has that 7'2" wingspan. I think it's very impressive that he has the handle on the basketball that he has. He can do a lot of dribble moves that we see point guards doing. He can do the between the legs. He has the in and out crossover. He can go behind his back. He can do just about any move you can think of, and I think that's very impressive at his size. And then he also has the ability to operate the pick and roll. He can pull up. He can pull up off his dribble for a three-point shot. He can pull up in the mid-range area, and then we're going to go back to his size again. He knows how to utilize it on that low block. So if you try to pit somebody that's quicker and can stay in front of him, he can take that guy down to that low block. He has great moves in the post. He can shoot over it. He can shoot the post fade. He has some decent footwork. He can overpower you. And then also he can score in isolation. And this is very important as well. If he playing alongside Anthony Simons and Damian Lillard, 9 times out of 10, the third best defender is going to be guarding Jerami Grant. And there's not many teams with 3 lockdown defenders in their lineup. So he can go to work in isolation, do whatever move he needs to do to get to his spot, whether it's getting to that mid-range pull-up or getting all the way to the rim. So Jerami Grant, he is a very skilled basketball player, and I think he fits so perfectly alongside Anthony Simons and Damian Lillard. And I think it's because he has that ability to play off the ball, and when you need him to, you can give him the basketball and he can create for himself or create for others. So I love that about him. And then also he gives them something that they need on the defensive side of the ball as well. And when Jerami Grant first came into the NBA, he had a reputation for being a lockdown defender, and we're going to go back to his elite size once again. 6'8", 7'2" wingspan. He has the body, the frame, and the build to be a lockdown defender, just because you can put him in so many different spots and so many different situations. You can allow him to guard a bigger forward in the NBA in the low post. He has the strength and the athleticism to do that, and you can also switch him in pick and roll situations onto smaller players. He's quick. He has enough lateral quickness, once again athletic enough to stay in front of those guys. And then you also have to love that he can be a pest even when he's not guarding the guy with the basketball in his hands. With that long wingspan, he can play the passing lanes. He does a great job at contesting jump shots and blocking or contesting shots at the rim. And I see him do something pretty impressive on the defensive side of the ball this season. The Portland Trailblazers were playing the Brooklyn Nets, and Jerami Grant, he got a block on Kevin Durant's pull-up jumper, and that's not something we see very often. Kevin Durant, basically 7 feet tall, also another guy with a very long wingspan, so to get a block off on him and his release point is very impressive. So I really can't wait to see him on the court with Gary Payton II. I just know they're going to be creating some great highlights, making great stops on the defensive side of the ball, opening up that transition game. Both of those guys are supremely athletic, so can't wait to see what they do with each other out on the fast break. And I just think Jerami Grant, the addition of him has been so great for the Portland Trailblazers. He just gives them a lot of what they need, and he also gives them some much needed versatility on both the offensive and the defensive side of the ball. And from the Portland Trailblazers, I'm liking what I'm seeing from this team so far this season. They're going through a bit of a rough patch. They dropped 3 out of their last 10 games, but this team, man, the injuries are starting to pile up. Damian Lillard, he was out for quite some time. He just came back in their previous game against the Pacers. It's always good to see him back. But guys like Nasir Little, and we still haven't seen Gary Payton II. I cannot wait to see how he looks with this team, because I think he is a game changer, and I think he's the guy you want on your team if you're trying to win playoff series and championships. He is the ultimate glue guy. But that's going to be it for this video. Just wanted to talk about Jerami Grant and how great he's been playing. And also, before I end this video, I want to give a huge shout out to Patrick. Patrick took the time out of his day to reach me via email, and he created me a new profile picture, a new channel banner, and also a watermark. And it just meant a lot because I'm not tech savvy at all, and I don't know how to do any of that stuff. And Patrick, he told me in the email that he's a Portland Trailblazers fan. So now that I'm making another Blazers video, I want to give him a shout out, and hopefully he he's watching, just to say thank you again. And also I'm going to leave his links in the description below to his website and to his Instagram. And if you guys need anything graphically designed, you should check him out because he did a great job. If you guys enjoyed, please leave a like, comment down below how you feel about Jerami Grant on the Portland Trail Blazers, and then subscribe for more weekly content. We do this all the time, man, and that's curtains.